Welcome to On the Middle East, Al Monitor's weekly podcast on the big developments affecting the region. Much of the world is transfixed by Russia's assault on Ukraine, and there are immediate consequences for the Middle East. We, however, will be discussing an underreported form of violence, that against the gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transsexual community in Iraqi Kurdistan. The murder last month of a transsexual makeup artist, Azad Doski, by her brother was the shocking reminder of the impunity that pervades the region when it comes to the LGBT community. With us here today is Zhiar Ali, a leading activist who now lives in the Netherlands for his own safety. So welcome to our show, Zhiar. It's great to have you here with us today.
Hello, thank you very much for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Not at all. So we're going to be talking about violence, transgender violence against gay people, against women in Iraqi Kurdistan. And we just had this really awful murder, recently of a woman who was burnt to death by her husband. And then before that, of a transgender makeup artist in the city of Duhok, who was killed by her brother, who traveled from Europe to carry out the murder, and it was described as an honor killing. And these seem to be happening with frightening frequency in Iraqi Kurdistan. We had 9 women killed so far this year, and we saw the Prime Minister, the President, condemn the murders of the women, but say nothing about the transgender person who was killed. So can you just tell us a little bit about, first of all, how it is to be gay in Iraqi Kurdistan?
Yeah, for sure. It is very frightening and unfortunate, the latest incidences, and we have been very concerned with the rising violence against LGBT people and even women generally. We saw that the government responded to some of the deaths, which is a good thing, but it's not good at all that they ignored one of the first, which was a transgender woman. And the reason behind this is because LGBT identities are still deeply stigmatized in Iraqi Kurdistan, and the transgender women are even considered to be women. We have been we've seen the Kurdish media report about these incidences and still refusing to use female pronouns, or still referring to Doski Azad as a man, or publishing pictures before her transition, and a lot of other disrespectful things. And this can all be traced back to the lack of public knowledge on gender and sexuality and the LGBT identities and individuals. So moving on to how life is as a gay person in Iraq, it's completely difficult. It's very terrible in the Kurdistan region. There are no laws to protect LGBT people, especially gay people. There are no anti-discriminatory laws. There are no labor laws to protect LGBT people. So oftentimes they can be denied from jobs, even if they're qualified, just because of their sexual orientation. And even the police and Asayish, which is the security agency in the Kurdistan region, they commit violence against the LGBT people. And it's even worse in the rest of Iraq, with militias often killing LGBT people, and with murderers getting away, as we saw with Doski Azad's murderer. It's been almost a month and he has not been found. And the same as well, last year, another transgender woman was murdered, and her murderer was never found or never punished, or at least we don't have any information about what happened to her case, because the government really lets these cases just be closed silently. They sweep everything under the rug and act like nothing has happened.
So have you faced any discrimination yourself? What's been your personal experience? Because I read in an article, I think it was the Voice of America, about you saying how scared you were sometimes, that you feared for your life.
Yes, this is true. This is something that I've told a lot, but I did really accept that I could be killed at any moment because of my work and because of my identity. And it's sad that with many other people who wanted to advocate, we discussed this, that we step out of our homes knowing that it could be the last day we leave. And that's exactly what I said in the interview. And that's how I really felt. I was targeted, I was harassed, I was beaten, I was threatened, intimidated. There are so many death threats in comment sections that are public. It's not something like you can go check it. For example, in the comment sections under my interviews, how people react, and it really shows the level of, sadly, the ignorance of the public when it comes to gender and sexuality, and how it's considered a taboo and a subject that nobody should dare touching or talking about. Um, so I can say that it was very difficult. I was denied housing, and of course, finding jobs is extremely difficult unless you have very, very, very good skills that they are willing to overlook, your sexuality, or if you don't fit into a binary system, that's going to be an issue. So my personal experience, unfortunately, in Iraq was not pleasant, was not good. And I think I share this experience with most of the LGBT community in the region.
And so you've moved out of Iraq now, right? You used to live in Suleimania, which is sort of supposed to be a cultural hub, somewhere where minds are more open, and yet you were unable to stay on. Is that correct?
This is true, and that is the sad part about all of this. Is the Suleimani region is known as a city that's supposed to be the most tolerant, but we saw the Asaish operation on April 1st last year, where they detained a number of gay people, and the Asaish spokesperson was saying that this is an operation that will be extended to arrest quote unquote homosexual people. And that was a really scary time for all of us, because we are seeing the rising influence of conservative parties, and how they are contributing to the worsening situation of human rights in the region, unfortunately. And I think a lot of other people felt out of control and felt endangered in that kind of situation, and were not able to go on, including journalists, actually. A lot of journalists who have moved out in the Kurdistan region. And this is why we have a problem when it comes to progressing as a nation, is that we tend to pressure the activists, the intellectuals, the journalists, every change maker, that they crack under the pressure and that they have to get out. They have to, be able to live without that kind of public backlash against them every day. So unfortunately, I was one of those people that I could not continue living there, because I genuinely feared for my own safety. And yeah, and now I live in the Netherlands.
So are there any NGOs or sort of groups inside Iraqi Kurdistan who advocate on the behalf of the LGBTQ community?
So there used to be an organization that was registered in Iraq, but it was registered as a women's rights organization, and it was called Rasan. I worked for Rasan from the end of 2019 to the beginning of 2021. and we were officially and publicly advocating for LGBT rights in the region. And unfortunately, there had been a backlash against the organization, and again influenced by conservative individuals and parties, that the Directorate of Non-Governmental Organizations froze all of Rassan's work, and there has been a lawsuit filed against 11 activists who worked for the organization, as well as the executive director of the organization. And they are charged with an article in the Iraqi Penal Code that relates to publishing audiovisual material that are against the quote-unquote public moral, or against the public interest. And so it's safe to say that I think at this point they stopped working or do not have as much impact as before. There's another organization publicly advocating. They are based in Sweden. They're called Iraqi. They publish in Arabic, Kurdish, and English, and they've been advocating for quite a few years for LGBT rights. Ourselves, we also have we founded Yaksani Media Network. It's basically, it's a media network that's with the main mission of countering media bias and to advocate for the community by raising awareness and also giving visibility to community members. And we have been very outspoken about Doski's case. Actually, we were one of the most outspoken organizations about the case, and we still try to get government attention and get a official response on that case.
Well, we also know that these popular mobilization units have also been targeting men they consider to be of loose morals. Is that another problem that you face? These sort of groups that take justice upon themselves on top of, individuals, family members who feel that they have to cleanse the family honor.
So I think that the subject is very complex because the Kurdish officials want to really appear as this kind of democratic, justice upholding kind of government, but they're not really. They're very authoritarian, and it's a kleptocracy basically. And generally the human rights situation there is very terrible. So we did a survey actually within the security agency, and the survey is about how they perceive LGBT. There's almost 24 sets of questions in the survey, and their responses were very alarming. And we are planning to publish those results and the data that we have soon on our website for the public knowledge. So it's that they don't view, most of them don't view LGBT people as people who deserve to have equal rights, or as people who deserve to have rights at all, I could say.
So you're talking now about the security services like the internal police, the Asayish. So did you also talk to these popular mobilization units at all, or?
Well, we are dealing with everything on a local level. So we are operating in the Kurdistan region, and the people that are responding to these cases are mostly the police and the Asayish. And we do know that if someone tells on you, for example, because they think that you are having a homosexual relationship, or if you're a woman who's doing something that is considered by them immoral or unacceptable, then you could be imprisoned for that. So at first they take you to a station and they make you fill out a form promising that you'll never do what they think is immoral to them.
It's quite ironic though, isn't it? Because, when you go to some of the hotels in Erbil, you see women openly soliciting, and they don't seem to face much of a problem.
I think they only do that when it's an inconvenience for them. We know about LGBT people. The police and the SIH have used LGBT people to target politicians, for example, to create sex scandals, and a lot of other weird things that they're doing. Meanwhile, they don't recognize that community as a whole, and they're not giving them the rights to freely express their lifestyle and their. So it's only, they only take action when it's inconvenient for them or when they want to, and not because there's a set of specific laws that they follow or there's rules that they follow.
Well, we saw that there was quite a strong reaction, though, wasn't there, when Doski was murdered from the European consulates and the US consulate. Does that have any kind of impact, or is it just, not taken seriously?
The backlash that the Kurdistan region is receiving for these kind of murders is in the first place the works of activists and CSOs or civil society. It's not that the government is doing something about it or that there are other actors who are working on it. We actually worked very hard to make this an international case, to reach international media and to reach the consulates and embassies so they would release a statement about this subject. But it's obviously not enough. We don't want to start a campaign after someone dies. We don't want to publish a statement after someone dies. We want to prevent the death in the first place. And that's what we're advocating for. So we have had meetings with consulates and we have told them directly, and I'm going to say it again here, that, we don't need their tokenistic efforts. We don't need a statement. We need real action. We need real action with the government. They have to understand that LGBT people are there and they will be there and they have to be respected. And there has to be laws that will protect these individuals from harm. And whenever someone dies, it's unacceptable. Yeah, somebody just comes back to the Kurdistan region, commits a murder, and then leaves. How is this acceptable? How is a government so weak that even after a month and 2 intelligence agencies operating on a local level, they're not able to find one murderer when they say they're cooperating with Interpol also? So what's the investigation leading to? What has happened so far? Why are they not transparent? I think these are all things, if the consulates are genuine in their efforts trying to help us, then they should follow up with the government on these things, and they should release whatever information they have to the public. It's just not enough that they have a meeting and then they tell us, oh, there's other things going on behind the scenes that you're not aware of. Well, we don't want that. We want to be aware of whatever is happening.
Well, they're very fortunate, your community, to have someone as articulate and passionate as you. One final question. How do families react? I mean, obviously, in the case of Doski Azad, the family reacted terribly and the brother came and shot her dead. But are there instances where families embrace their child? What was your personal experience with your own family?
There are very few families who actually accept their LGBT children, unfortunately, because what's very important to understand is that we have this kind of collective lifestyle in the Kurdistan and Iraq regions. And this has made it impossible for a person to practice an individualistic kind of lifestyle. So you have to always worry about what you do, how you dress, how you act, what you say, everything, because you have to be, be careful about what kind of message you get across to other people, because other people don't look at you as individuals. They look at you as a family, as a group of people related, as a tribe. And, these are tribal values that we still hold on to in the 21st century. And this has made life very difficult. For me, it was no different than any other LGBT kid out there. It's obviously it was very tough, very unaccepting. I faced a lot of violence, just like I have faced outside, also in my house. So I think it's not strange for LGBT children to be harmed by their families in this way. It has been happening for decades, but it's only been highlighted because now we are daring to speak up about it.
Well, keep up the great work, and I hope you can return to Kurdistan, a more open Kurdistan, sometime soon. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today, and hope to keep in touch, Zhiar. Thank you.
Thank you, Amberine. It was really lovely to talk to you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
I'm Elizabeth Hagedorn, and I'm the State Department correspondent at Al Monitor.
And I'm Joe Snell. I'm Al Monitor's video editor. Let's admit it, this past year has been difficult to stay on top of the news and sift through what's accurate and what's misleading. Let Al Monitor help you.
If you care about the Middle East and North Africa, you should consider listening to Al Monitor's audio series On the Middle East with Andrew Parasalidi and Amber Zaman, and On Israel with Ben Caspi. You can now watch our newest video podcast, Reading the Middle East with Gilles Capel. You can subscribe to these series on your favorite podcast platforms.
And through a host of free daily and weekly newsletters, we offer a range of perspectives with the highest journalistic standards. You can subscribe to these newsletters at almonitor.com.
As an award-winning media service headquartered in Washington, D.C., Al Monitor has a network of over 160 contributors around the world.
So if you haven't done so already, be sure to visit almonitor.com, where you can find all of these newsletters and podcasts along with first-class reporting and analysis.
And this brings us to the end of this week's show. I hope you learned as much as I did about the terrible plight of the LGBT community in Iraqi Kurdistan. Catch up with us next week with another absorbing episode of On the Middle East.